All right, so I got some news here that most of you are not going to like. You're not going to like this. I certainly don't like it, but it's important, it's true, but also there's a lot of context that needs to be explained here in order for this to make sense. There's a logical explanation for everything, and you're going to need that explanation here, so take a look. The Hill says, Beto O'Rourke, also known as Bet on My Stork, raises $6.1 million on campaign's first day, exceeding all rivals. So Bet on My Stork outraised Bernie Sanders. Now, it's just curious for a number of reasons. First of all, I think it was Act Blue, the fundraising site, where a lot of the Democrats do their grassroots fundraising numbers. They tweeted out within the first couple hours of Bet on My Stork's campaign, they said, "Oh, we've raised a whopping $6,000 or some tiny number like that within the first hour or two." And then obviously if you do the math and you extrapolate, you ain't getting nowhere near $6.1 million. Nowhere near. So there were already stories on the left about how, well, he's massively flopping. And when you look at his launch, I mean, are you kidding me? It was like a joke. It's like he was doing a caricature of a corporate Democrat. He was flailing his arms around and doing platitudes. I mean, we covered it. It was so bad. It was just nothing but word salad thrown your way with, we have to come together and we have to unify and we're going to make this country amazing and blah, 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 blah. So it was like literally comical. Like we were laughing at it. So how could it possibly be that a guy who is running on platitudes and cliches, is awkward as fuck, and who was flopping initially when he launched, how could it be that this guy raised $6.1 million and outraised Bernie Sanders? Well, the answer is pretty simple. Bernie Sanders had about 224,000 individual donors. You know how many Bet on My Stork had? I don't know. You want to know why I don't know? He refuses to share that number. So here's my guess as to what's happening. My guess is the Democratic establishment, the moneyed interests, the corporatists, the people who've really controlled the party for decades, they've looked around. They've seen all the different candidates. They've seen Cory Booker, Amy Klobuchar, Kamala Harris, Kirsten Gillibrand. They've looked at all of them and they've gone, Now, we like a bunch of you, and we would back a bunch of you, but, your launch has not been all that great. You're kind of flailing, and you're not getting any traction. So, what it looks like here is they decided we're going all in on Bet on My Stork. Before he even launches, we're going all in on Bet on My Stork. And remember, it wasn't that long ago. It was basically a month or two ago. He met with President Obama. In fact, Joe Biden got angry that Bet on My Stork and his team met with President Obama. So, you have to read the tea leaves here, but it looks like basically this guy met with the Democratic establishment, met with the corporatists and the moneyed interest, met with the former president, and, basically looking for their backing and their blessing, and if they can pull strings behind the scenes in order to try to make stuff work for him. And what's the number one indicator that you have a giant backing of the powerful? Fundraising. Now, in the case of Bernie, he broke all fundraising records, but he actually did it with small dollar donations, which is why the 224,000 donors, or whatever the specific number is, that was, earth-shattering. So, Bet on My Stork breaks Bernie's fundraising numbers, but refuses to release how many individual donors there are. It's almost like they don't want you to see the number of individual donors, because it's almost like the number of individual donors would be embarrassing. Now, remember, there was a scandal involving Bet on My Stork not that long ago, because he said, "Oh no, I'm not gonna take any corporate PAC money." But what did he end up doing? Took plenty of money in big money bundler fashion, and that's the other form of corruption that people despise. And, it's a problem when they end up taking money from executives, from the owner class, max donations at a time. So basically $2,700, $2,800 a pop. And it's in a coordinated fashion where they're all together because that's just another form of bribery. And by the way, the problem with Bet on My Stork is it's reflected in his voting record too. Pro-fracking, took a lot of money from the oil industry, massively pro-fracking. We don't even need to get into the fast-track TPP support, Wall Street deregulation support. I mean, the list goes on and on. Undermine the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, voted a few times to even undermine the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. So, listen, he's a corporatist, he's a wolf in sheep's clothing, and the fact of the matter is, we all saw the launch. We all saw it. We saw the platitudes, we saw the cliches, we saw the flailing arms, and all of Twitter, and that's not an exaggeration, was nothing but snark and derision directed at Bet on My Stork. Nothing but that. So you're telling me that the social media reality reflects the fundamental opposite of what was happening in the real world? I simply don't believe that. Now, it's true that you can say, well, Twitter isn't everything. There's this, people say Twitter isn't real life. Well, I don't totally agree with that either. The people on Twitter, by and large, are all real people giving real opinions and real thoughts. So I think it's like a semi-reflection of reality, a half reflection of reality at the very least, probably even a little more than that. But they want us to believe, oh yeah, no, he was despised by everybody you had seen on the launch day. The Democratic base was literally mocking him all day. But then he ended up outraising the behemoth who has all the grassroots support in the world. There must be a logical explanation for that. And again, the logical explanation, as far as I could tell, is he didn't release his individual, numbers, which leads me to believe that's a pretty embarrassing number, and he's getting a lot of money from a smaller group of people, and that group of people are the preordained Democratic Party saints, the corporatists, and they've given him their blessing, and so now it's an astroturfing effort to try to make people think. It's a top-down game, guys. It's a top-down job. They go, oh, bet on my Stork. Oh, my God. He's so viable. Look at the fundraising numbers. You know who else had gigantic fundraising numbers early on in the 2016 Republican primary? Jeb Bush. You know who the media called the frontrunner? Jeb Bush. So, for those of you who don't know the game, go watch the movie Wag the Dog, because it really explains a lot of how stuff works in Washington. Obviously, they use comically exaggerated examples in that movie because it's fiction, but that's the general idea behind it. Wag the dog. Make the public think, oh, this is obviously the guy, and the fundraising numbers prove it, see? And then talk about that nonstop, as the media will do relentlessly today and for the next week and a half, I bet. And then try to control public opinion and change public opinion as you pretend like you're just describing public opinion. So in other words, act like you're being objective, act like you're just discussing empirical reality. Well, Bet on My Stork is obviously... But in the process of doing that, what you're actually doing is shaping public opinion and trying to make people go, I guess Bet on My Stork. I mean, he's got all the money. But listen, my guess is it's not going to work. So I'm on record, and I'll say it again right now, just so I'm crystal clear. Bernie's the front runner, the actual front runner, has the most grassroots support, would get the most votes. There is going to be at least one corporatist who does better than any of us think, and better than any of the early indicators show. So there's going to be somebody who, we're gritting our teeth a little bit and biting our nails and going, oh, this fucker's making a little bit of a charge. Now, who's that going to be? Well, there's a few options. My guess is, and this is just a guess, and I could easily be proven wrong here, and I'm willing to say this could be off base. I don't know. But my guess is the one who will make a little bit of a charge, even though her early indicators are bad, is Kamala. I think Kamala will make a little bit of a charge, but I think Bernie is the front runner and has the most support. And I think basically what's happening here with Bet on My Stork is the exact same thing that happened with Jeb in 2016, where it's a top-down thing. They're trying to make you think he's the front runner. They're trying to fudge the numbers, fudge the data, say, oh, wow, totally viable, totally legit. Well, Again, if the support was really there in terms of votes, in terms of the grassroots, you wouldn't have to hide that individual donor number now, would you? But that's what they're doing. So just understand, the money is real as a heart attack, but the source, they're trying to play hide the ball with that a little bit on purpose, because this isn't really the grassroots Democrats who care deeply about fixing our system and getting very specific policies implemented. They're swooning over a guy who just fell flat on his face and did a platitude sandwich for his launch. Nonsense. Utter nonsense. So, I mean, listen, don't take it lightly. Don't take the fact that he outraised Bernie lightly. Just understand the context of it, that it doesn't reflect grassroots support. It reflects moneyed interest support. And if you want to counteract it and you want to fight back and it annoys the shit out of you like it does me, well, then donate again to Bernie. Donate again to Bernie. I mean, that's what you do. Because I'm telling you, man, they're going to try to shove these people down our throats. They really are. They really are. I said it once. I'll say it again. I'll keep saying it. Every Democratic candidate, except for Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, and Tulsi Gabbard, will get the kid gloves treatment. Understand? They'll all get the kid gloves treatment. And bet on my Stork's got the backing of the establishment as well, the moneyed interest, the Democratic Party brass. But you're going to keep seeing that reflected. In fact, Washington Post today has a new hit job out on Bernie Sanders. They're trying to pretend like, because Bernie says on the campaign trail, we gave a $1 trillion bailout to Wall Street. They literally did a fact check where they go, no, if you do an accounting trick like this, this, and this, technically it wasn't $1 trillion because you counted wrong, Bernie. Gotcha. They're literally trying to pretend like they got him on Wall Street bailouts. Nonsense. Nonsense. They're the ones doing the accounting tricks. They're the ones who are looking for a reason to rationalize that not being the case. So, but you see it. You see it right in front of us. They're pretending like Bet on My Stork is, oh my God, he's the best. He's the front runner. Forget Bernie, as they're writing hit jobs on Bernie Sanders. This is all a top-down effort, and they're going to try to drill into your head, not Bernie, not Bernie, not Bernie, not Bernie, not Bernie. Don't fall for it. We should support him even more. And we should recognize this ploy for what it is. Exactly that, a ploy.